Hi-ho, all. Andrew here. It's another edition of Adventures in IT and Hospitality. So we're going to shift away from the IT stories for a bit. We'll get back to them. Don't worry. We will get back to them. But I want to start sharing a few of my stories from the hospitality industry. I got to warn you, some of these are going to be rather X-rated, and you won't believe what you're hearing. But that's not this story today. So this story today comes from Edmonton. I guess it would have been 1982, in around that area. I was 18 years old. So yeah. And I had gotten my first waiter job. And it was I'm not going to say the business, but it was a busy place that was right by West Edmonton Mall. And now back in the 1980s, you had smoking sections and you had non-smoking sections. This obviously was before they banned smoking in restaurants. Now, typically back then, 1/4 to 1/3 of your restaurant would be non-smoking, and then 3/4 to 2/3 would be smoking. And this particular restaurant, the smoking section was 1/4 of the restaurant. So we were having a really busy day. There was a lineup out the door, probably 50, 60 people lined up out the door waiting to be seated. And I was running my ass off. And I was in a smoking section. So this couple, elderly couple, they come up, and the hostess, who happened to be my girlfriend at the time, so I got to hear all of the preamble leading up to what happened in my section. So she gets to them and she says, did you want smoking or non-smoking? And they're like, non-smoking. And she's, well, non-smoking is going to probably be a 30 to 45 minute wait because we're filled. But we do have one table open that is in the smoking section. So begrudgingly, they say, fine, we'll go to the smoking section. So they get there and they get sat and everything. And I go up and I get their drink order and everything. And I leave and I'm coming back with the drinks. And I see this entire thing unfold. The woman, she opens up her purse. She reaches into her purse and she pulls out a table talker. Now, for those that don't know what a table talker is, that's the signage on the tables, usually telling you drink specials. And if you're in a non-smoking section, you'll have a tabletop talker saying thank you for not smoking. Well, she pulled one of these out of her purse. She was carrying it around with her. First sign that we're not dealing with somebody who's all there. And she puts it on her table. Okay, fine. And then she turns around and she starts yelling at the people in the smoking section that this is now a non-smoking section and they all have to stop smoking by law. Well, no, actually, that's not how it works. And so a couple of them came and they complained about it. And I went up. I said, sorry, ma'am, this is not a non-smoking section. You're going to have to put your table talker away. If you want to sit in non-smoking, we can put you back and wait for the next non-smoking table if that's what you want. Nope, we're staying here and this is now non-smoking. No, actually, it's not. And she was adamant and she was really rude about it too. So finally I said, fine. And I went and got the manager and I explained to the manager and I said, that's what's going on. So the manager went up to him and the manager's like, I'm sorry, this is a smoking section. You're going to have to either put your table talker away and stop bothering the customers or we're going to have to ask you to leave. Well, she got belligerent and she's yelling and she's screaming, and I don't remember what she was saying, but I mean, come on, that was 40 years ago now. But I have a suspicion it was "you're killing us all" and that sort of rhetoric, because that was pretty common from the radical non-smokers back then. So she was asked to leave and, they left and they put up a fuss and everything. But it's like, oh my God, you would be amazed how often we ran into this. The waiters and waitresses were actually happy when the non-smoking went through to a degree. We knew a lot of our tips during the slow hours when we didn't have the lineups came from coffee drinkers. They'd come in, they'd order a coffee. Coffee was, I think back then was 75 cents. They'd leave $1, so we'd get a 25-cent tip. And that's how we would make a lot of our tips, is through numbers. You do 100 coffee drinkers, each giving you a 25-cent tip. Suddenly that's $25. It adds up. So we were concerned when non-smoking became the thing because, the smokers that drink coffee smoke. And if they can't smoke, they're probably not going to drink the coffee, which is money out of our pocket. And that did turn out to be the case, and to some extent. Not as bad as a lot of us thought it might be, but that did turn out to be the case. But yeah, it was on the outside is once there was no longer a smoking and a non-smoking section, this erased that whole drama that was happening. Because at that point in my life, some of the rudest people I'd ever met in my life were non-smokers. Like, they were just, nobody wanted to serve them. They were miserable. They were angry. They were belligerent. They were rude. It was terrible. So we were actually glad when that argument got settled, because now there's no argument. You can't smoke. So you know that coming in and you accept it. If you don't accept it, you don't come in. So anyway, so yeah, that was my experience as an 18-year-old with the lunatics. And yeah, I'm going to remember that story. It was just so mind-numbing. She reached in her purse and she brought out a thank you for not smoking table talker, put it on her table, and proceeded to tell everybody else this is now a non-smoking section. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not quite how reality works. Anyway, that's my story for today. If you liked the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. If you didn't like the video, leave a dislike. Always feel free to leave a comment. Don't worry, I don't swing my cane too strongly anymore if I dislike your comment. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Bye.